Joey the queen, ain't no keeping it realer. My stomach stay lean, but that booty be thicker. I'm cuffed with my hubby and snuffing your hitter. My pen is the clip and my finger the trigger. Megan the Stallion and Joey the Panther. I stand on the front lines, I'm holding the banners. I'm pressing the buttons and turning the channels to reset the system to challenge my grandma. Stage show mean, keep the crowd higher than the weed. Got Kendro heading up the team. Pro-black, but I'm still about the cream.
What is going on, family? Hello, baby gorgeous gang. Y'all watch your mouth. Hey, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Justifiably Jordan. This is the channel where I give an empathic analysis of all things culture and entertainment and then justify why you should watch and learn for your damn self and draw your own conclusion. I am your host, Jordan Renee, and thank you for taking the time, feeling the vibe, and having a seat with me. Since I'm not in the car, I felt like I had to change it up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? What do you like? Does anybody even listen to these monologues that I be doing? I wonder. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Hi, guys. Listen, today's topic is a heavy one for me because I'm going through some things right now, and this topic just happens to be about managing depression while you're managing a family, and that's literally what I'm damaging or I'm like suffering right now. So I'm figuring all this out. But I wanted us to just kind of go live just with each other laughing and in good spirits right now because sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from crying. And right now I'm in that space. So I'm just like, I'm like pushing through. Pushing through. Hi. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey,
Welcome Naturally Nikaya, Joanna Shante. Those of you, y'all know. What's going on, girls?
nothing. I'm here to listen while I cut my hair. I'll
I love
chime in.
that for you. We're giving
I'm
y'all a
here to
hair
take
lesson,
notes while Nakia cuts her hair.
and I am here to just talk myself through some things and let y'all know it's gonna be okay. Damn it.
Yep.
So,
Correct.
I wanted to talk about managing depression while managing family because, as I just mentioned to these ladies like 30 seconds before I click go live, I'm, kind of sneaky that way, that I am like managing like manic depression, PTSD, mild agoraphobia, weird things like that. And so, like, when things hit, they hit. And mind you, like, I do a pretty good job of faking it. Like, it's okay. Like, I do a pretty good job of projecting okayness, but then I have those really low moments where it's like when it hits, and then I'm like, no, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot be okay. It's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I wanted to talk about is when you feel like you don't necessarily have the room to take care of yourself because you have other things that you have to prioritize. Like myself, I have a daughter. I have, to find work. I'm going through things in my personal life. Like I have to push forward and keep going and rebuild my life. So it's like there are things that I just can't a lot time throughout my day. Do you get what I mean? And so
Hmm.
that I'm what I'm looking for is advice. I'm not even looking to come here and be like a light because like really it has less to do with family and just more so like balancing the energy because it could be managing work, it could be managing career, it could be managing, you know, relationship, it could be managing whatever the case may be. But it's all
Managing
about
your life when you don't want your life.
right.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is because I am someone who sits in dark spaces for long periods of time, but then I have this like it's like a switch thing. Some people call it a Sasha Fierce, but I'm not that chick. Love you, Beyonce, but I'm not a Sasha Fierce. God bless. But um it's just something where it's almost like a maybe a dissociation where you just step outside of what your current like actual feelings are, just so you can push forward and make sure that the day happens. So you can go to work and not slap the shit out of somebody. So you can, talk to your child without beating them because you upset at their daddy. So you can, go to the grocery store and not jump on a lady because she skipped you in the line by accident and she didn't even see you there. Like,
For me, it kind of gives me, for anybody who watched Game of Thrones, like the first time the red woman took off her necklace and then turned into the old, super extra, extra old ass lady instead of being like the pretty, young, alluring girl that she was all the rest of the time in front of everybody else. It's like, all right, here's the Joanna that everybody needs. Here's the super helpful, light, delightful, professional, family oriented, whatever you need, I can help you with. What's up? I'm here. And then as soon as I get home, it's like, all right,
mm, now what?
depression
Yeah.
is a sneaky bitch.
So what do
Man.
you do to get it together?
I had to learn how to not block it out.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like, just
Mm,
take a minute and realize, like, all right, you ain't got to break down into a puddle of mush in front of everybody, but you also don't have to pretend that you're perfectly okay in front of everybody either. Like, take a minute, go to the
Right.
bathroom, go out to the car, scream, punch the steering wheel a few times, go break some shit over the levee, which is a thing that I love doing. Um, get some of that out real quick so it doesn't bottle over at the most inopportune time.
yeah.
And then when you are at home by yourself in those long moments, give yourself the permission and the space to feel whatever the fuck it is you're feeling and let it out however the fuck you need to.
Okay, so that was gonna be my question, and I want to start with you since you brought it up, and then I want to jump to Kiki. Hey, boo, how you doing, sweetie? Hey, mama.
Hey
Hey,
y'all.
what's
How
going
y'all
on,
doing?
sugar?
I was on my little
Doing.
walk, so I had to come pop in for a second.
I
All
love
right.
that. See, now you can
Yes.
stream while walking, but you can't stream while driving. We have learned the YouTube rules around here.
Yeah, we can't do
We
that
have
on the
learned the
road.
rules, and I have
Right.
reinvented my own self. I have paid my penance. I have sang my Hail Marys, and now we back with the attack. So
Guess who's
now,
gonna do it anyway? Me.
Cause you grown, so you do what you want.
and that's
It is what
why
it
I'm gonna
is.
let you do it. I mean, hell, I don't know what to do. But my
Right.
question was, what are the ways that you create safe spaces for yourself to express those low moments and be totally in tune with your feelings without hitting that trap door where you can't come out of it? Like with those moments when, as you said, when you are at home by yourself and you're feeling those feelings, what are the ways that you set those boundaries for yourself to feel those feelings, feel the totality of it, not limit yourself in the expression of it, but then still pull yourself out of it and keep going? Starting with you, Joanna.
For me, it's kind of because I got to where I got in my spiritual journey. Like, I have a room in my house where I have my ancestral altar. I have a little wine because that's what my grandma liked. I got a little music because that's what my best friend liked. I got a little flask because my daddy enjoyed his brown liquor. I
Mm,
have a little salt lamp in there for something from the earth. I have a glass of water in there for them. I have um incense for the air, and I have tea lights for the fire. So I have all my elements. That's where I go to commune with them. So I turned that into kind of like my venting space, my meditation space. Like when I just can't, when I want to, just don't want to, and I just can't, that's where I go.
mm.
and I let everything out and I talk to them and I meditate and I ask for their help. Like, bruh, I'm healing for generations before me and generations after me. I need y'all help. Like, I can't make it right now and I need y'all help. And I
Hmm.
let it out and I say whatever it is I need to say. If I need to drink a little bit, I do that. If I need to have
Listen,
some edibles before, during, or after, I do that. If I need to take my pen in there, I do that. But that's kind of like my space to, like, all right, get everything out, talk it out, cry it out, scream it out, and leave that in this room.
hmm,
Leave all that darkness, that heaviness, leave all that in here. And when you go back out into the rest of the house, breathe it out and be okay. And know that, all right, you had your moment. Now let's focus your mind on something else and move forward.
do you give yourself a time limit?
I don't. I don't. I used to be like, all right, because I felt like I needed to. Because
Hmm.
it's like, all right, if I don't, bitch, I'm going to just be in here laid out on the floor for the rest of my life. Because it's enough trauma for me to be in here on this floor laid out for the rest of
Laid
my
out
life.
about. Hmm.
Right. So at first I did. I'm like, all right, you got 10 minutes. Go, do what you need to do, and then go. But the more that I did that, the more that it wasn't so heavy. It wasn't so much because I let a little bit of it out. So it's like, all right, I feel, and leave it there. Like when I was little, because my mom was heavily in the church and so was I back then. So we had like a play, we had like a revival gospel fest type of situation, and we had a play where my mama played this lady who would go get like all the hymnals and all the Bibles and all the books and all of everything. And she would pick them up and she would take them with her. And then she would be like, all righty, I'm done with these. And then she would, instead of leaving them there, she would pick them back up and take them with her every single time. And it's like, all right, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. Like, don't take your burdens to the Lord and then take them back with you when you're done.
Right.
So I had to get in my mind, like, take your stuff in this room and leave it there.
Hmm.
Even if it's one specific thing for that specific time. Once you're done with that thing for that time, leave it. Don't pick it back up. Don't dwell on it again. Don't, yeah, but if only this would have happened this way, then I would have been. Nope. Take it there, leave it there. You got enough other shit to worry about. That thing, that part, you're done with that. You've released that. You've cleansed yourself of that. Let that go and leave that there and move on to something else. Because it's always going to be something else anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
You ain't lying. Kiki, I want to go to you because baby Joanna just opened up all the things that I wanted to talk about in my answers. So I'm gonna let all of y'all go, and then I'll kind of just piggyback off of all y'all at the end. But I wanted to ask you, what is your safe space if you have one? When do you feel it's necessary for you to go into that safe space? Do you have like a level of um like, do you have like a scale of like manageability of like, okay, at this
Hmm.
point I'm cool, at this point I'm needing to reclude a little bit, and then at this point I need to be locked in my safe space with chains on the wall and nobody can access me. Do you
Yeah.
have like those type of levels? What is that safe space for you, and what are the things that you do to create those boundaries for you to get what you need to get from that safe space, but then also be
Mhm.
able to have the strength to walk out of that space without it?
Okay, so my safe space for me is my home. My apartment is that's my safe haven. Like that's where I go to not necessarily escape, but to allow myself to deal with my feelings in the most healthiest of ways. Because because I know like I used to be a person that was always trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, see the best and the good in everybody, and that's just not the case. It's not reality. That's not real. We don't live like that. And for me, it took me like setting up those boundaries, like you said. And I think everybody has those places in their life where they're like, okay, like I know that if I get here, I'm not gonna be able to bring myself back to where I need to be in order to, like live. Like I have to be able to function. For me, I know that whenever I get to those spaces where I feel like I can't um necessarily manage my emotions or manage my situation around me, because I can't control everything, but I can control my reaction. That's what I did have to learn. That was the biggest lesson for me, was learning that I can't control the situation, but I can control my reaction. And the biggest part of that was allowing myself to feel my emotion in that moment, give myself the benefit of the doubt and being gentle with myself. I can be very hard on myself. I tend to be my own worst critic. Like nobody can tell me nothing bad about myself like I can. So because of that, can't nobody hurt my
Right.
feelings. Like you know what I mean? Like you might make me think about something in a different way, or I might take your opinion into consideration. But baby, like real talk, you can't say nothing to me that I haven't already said that's way worse than what I said to myself,
Right.
especially in my lowest points in life. Like I've said some terrible things to myself that I regret now, but I realized that I had to experience those heavy and extreme emotions in order to get to where I am now. And that's a part of that, building that mental fortitude as well. So, like I said, I allow myself to feel that emotion, but I don't let it consume me. So I give myself three things that I can either learn from feeling this emotion or this situation that got me to be in that mode anyway. Like let's
Hmm.
say for instance, somebody cut me off in traffic. I can't do nothing about that. You know what I mean? But like especially if you're already having a bad day, that might be the last straw. Like that's the last thing I needed today was for somebody to cut me off in traffic or somebody to do something stupid. And so I allow myself to feel that anger or frustration, sadness, whatever it may be, give myself three reasons why I'm not gonna let it consume me. Well, one, because I can't change it. Two, is it gonna matter 5 years from now? No, it's not. It shouldn't even matter 5 minutes from now. So that's what I have to
Right.
tell myself. I have a rule of five as well. Like if it's not gonna matter 5 years from now, 5 months, don't even give it 5 minutes.
Oh my God,
Allow
I love
yourself
that.
them 30 seconds to feel it and then let it go. Let it go, because
Yes, ma'am.
I realized that a lot of what I go through, I bottle it up because I don't want to be that person that flashes. I don't want to be that person, that angry black girl. So a lot of times I would shield my emotions. I wouldn't even have emotions. I wouldn't allow myself to experience things like other people because I felt like I wasn't afforded that luxury as a black woman. Like I don't get to be angry. You know what I mean? I don't get to have real feelings about stuff. So I get numb. I numb myself and I allow myself to let it bottle it up until a point where I literally combust. And I had to stop
Hmm.
doing that. It's not healthy, not for my mental, my physical either. Like I started to realize my hair had started graying. I'm only 25. Why is my hair graying?
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
like, well, this happened at 22, but that's even more to my point. At 22 years old, your hair should not be graying. Your hair shouldn't be falling out from stress. Your weight should not be fluctuating so much to the point where you can't even fit your clothes every couple of months. Either they're
Hmm.
too heavy or they're too like baggy on me or they're too tight. So it's like I realize like I have a lot of stress and I stress eat. I stress a lot of things. Like I do a lot of stress drinking. I do a lot of
Yeah,
stuff like that. So I
I
had to
completely.
you have to know your barriers and you have to really know yourself. So again, like my rule of five, telling myself three things that I can learn from this situation, because everything I feel is a lesson. Every
Yeah.
person you interact with, every experience that you have, there's something to gain from this every time. We're not living in this world with all these billions of people out here and interacting with and coming across the people that we're coming across for no reason. It's not by coincidence. You know, you can always
Especially
learn
when
something
you
from
keep meeting
somebody.
the same person in a different body. It's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, like
What do I
apparently this is
need to
something I need to
learn? What do I
face.
need to do? Why?
Right,
Because you keep
right.
bringing me this same motherfucker. So, all right, what
With a
is it?
different
What?
face. Right.
Let me
Same. And that's what it was
l-
for me.
let me ask Nakaya something because I want to specifically hear this from a mother's perspective because I have a lot of things that I want to say when it comes to me on that. Um, when it comes to balancing your own personal feelings and the things that you're going through when you're having your lows, how do you allow yourself the time and the space to feel your feelings and go through your process while still being able to be emotionally available for your husband and your family?
Well, I can only speak for the husband. I'm actually not a mom.
Oh my God. Why do
Yeah,
I why do I just feel like you are well, okay, yeah. Well, we'll talk
probably
about
because
that
you
He's
hear
later.
me
so
yelling at my dog. I'm a
nurturing.
mom, but not I'm a dog mom.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? But the
You
husband part, I can
you
definitely.
give great mom vibes.
Oh well, thank you, honey. Um, with the husband though, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. Like I used to, my vice was working.
Mm,
Like I was basically the overtime queen. That's how I would get through my stuff. And then
mm,
when my dad was murdered, that all changed.
mm,
So the thing I was running to cover up whatever I was going through became the thing I didn't want to do the most. So I had to find balance. I'm still working. I'm still a work in progress.
mm.
I
Oh,
don't
baby,
have
we
to.
all are. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
think
not.
nobody ever gets to being completely done.
Mm-mm.
Well, not done, but as far as like Joanna and Kiki, how
Mm,
they have their points where they stop it or go wherever they need to go to be in a better place.
mm,
My house is my cocoon. Like I'm literally going to work at the little jewelry store just for a weekend thing, just so I can make myself go out the house. You know what I'm saying? Little
mm,
seasonal bull crap. So because I don't have to leave, I will text my husband or call my husband and say I need this, this, and this, and this. Matter of fact, you want to take my car because it needs some gas in it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because if I ain't gotta go out, I don't. But
Mm,
I'm at the point where I'm making myself because that's not healthy. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? So, but the husband, he's a trooper. He's I don't even know how he married me. We got married no serious. We got married 2 months after my dad passed
wow.
because because of me. Like I went in a spin, like, oh hell no, what if something happened to you? What if something happened to me? Because I had literally
Mhm.
talked to my dad 2 days before it happened.
Right.
Before he's that whatever happened. But yeah. So he wasn't getting I wasn't screaming out wifely vibes, is what I'm saying. And he still married me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There was
I
no cooking,
completely
no
get that.
cleaning, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's why
Yeah.
that part of what's that song with Cardi B and Megan?
Why?
Oh, I don't cook,
I
I don't
cook,
I
I
clean,
don't
don't
but let me
clean,
show
clean,
but
you
but
let
how I
I
me
got
tell you,
this
I
cook.
got this
ring.
right. Okay. It is.
Y'all, that's my part. Like for real.
Okay.
She made it
Now,
just for me, but I'm working on it though.
how does your husband handle your triggers? Like, is he aware of like knowing when like that little thing that's gonna set you off? Does he how does he handle that? Is he aware of that? Have y'all had to find a balance with that? And how do you reciprocate that awareness of his triggers in the marriage so that you both feel emotionally heard as well as physically heard?
That was a process too, but things changed after the I do's.
Mm.
Because we've been knowing each other for 19 years. It's going on 20. So we
Wow,
were
that's
not
beautiful.
together the whole time,
19, right.
but we never could leave each other alone. We was always on each other's, you know,
Hmm.
whatever.
Radar.
You thank you. I couldn't spit it out. Thank you. But now like he went through it. Like he went through all the emotions of going through the death, and he stuck through it, and he would like he didn't it got to the point where he didn't know what to do no more.
Hmm.
He was basically kissing my ass. Like, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, just making sure I'm good. But in a sense, so I'm sure some of the things he did, he didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said
right.
the kissing ass part.
There was
But
sacrifice.
yeah, so um, like he made me mad. I'll just give an example. He made me mad the other night. We went out, and I just basically ignored him for like a day and a half, and we cleared it up. We just know, cool. Let's cool down.
Hmm.
We just cool down. We be in the same house. We eat together, but we just ain't got too much conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me
Yeah.
get back to wanting to talk to you again, and he'll do the same thing. Not as stubborn as me, but I see my dog suffering too. I
Mm.
had seen my dog was suffering, I should say. It's getting better, like I said, but I ain't want to do nothing.
Hmm.
And I never gave now that I'm good, I meditate, not as often as I should. Um,
Same.
and I trade. That trading, that forex trading, that
That's what gave you your
that's a
outlet.
mental, spiritual, financial thing as well. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. Like you sitting there, you didn't learn the skills, and then you make that trade, and you see your account just going, 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 and you have a goal, and you see it's getting close to that goal. Like that's like, you know,
Hmm.
it's cool. But y'all help me though. Y'all helping me get transition even more. I'll tell you that.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, babe. Now,
I
y'all
appreciate
are
y'all.
helping me right now because the reason why I wanted to go around in the circle and ask the questions the way that I did is because each of you kind of hit a point for me that I am struggling with or that I feel like I need to address within myself. Like with Joanna, you specifically hit on dealing with your feelings while you're in a career space. Kiki specifically hit the emotions of being a strong black woman and what type of stigma that can be when you're expected to be strong just because of the complexion of your skin and nobody gives a damn about who you actually are as an individual and what you're really feeling. And then um, Nakaya, for me, you specifically spoke on how to remain emotionally available within a relationship and how to still stay present within your marriage while being emotionally available for yourself. And all of those things I have been struggling with, mama. Oh my God. Like, that's what,
No,
like, I'm sorry, baby, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, to the point of like a career space. I was gone for like a week and a half, 2 weeks from my YouTube channel because I could see myself starting to like break down crying on my lives because I was trying to push through even, even though I was not speaking on what was really going on with me behind the scenes and I was just trying to push through like everything was okay and I could see myself crying on my lives and so I was like, I need to just take a step back. And then I just took a step back for longer than I actually wanted to because I just sunk into that place of not
Mhm.
being there. And I felt really guilty about it, and that added to the mania because I was like, I all these people are commenting and telling me how they miss me and how my and I'm like finding my videos for the first time and telling me how much they da 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 da, and I just it was like compounding plus everything else I had going on outside of that that I don't even want to take time to speak about. That's not that important, but it just that that's really what it is for me. Like I need like I'm trying to find a place of like stepping outside of that enough to still be able to be what I need to be here. And because I'm trying to open up myself enough to be as present as I should be in this space because it's not like if I'm going to curate a conversation about emotional wellness and being through personal experience, then I'm going to need to be able to volunteer my own personal experience. Like I have to be able to talk about it. Do you get what I mean? And sometimes I get in my own way with that. So, but go ahead, Joanna. That was really it.
Oh, what I was gonna say, like as far as being a parent and navigating the shit is difficult
Hmm.
because not only are you already sad as fuck,
You're the one with the baby, right?
but that guilt also creeps up like I need to be this strong presence for my daughter. And
Yes.
what if she see me breaking down? Like I don't want her to feel like it's okay to be stuck in her bullshit. Like so I had to be like, all right, when she was way younger and I was kind of going through my divorce with her father and going through all the other bullshit that I was going through at the time, I had to be like, and she was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 during that time where
Hmm.
things were worse back then. And I had to be like, all right, mommy's here, but mommy's really, really sad right now. There's a lot of grown up things that mommy's dealing with and a lot of changes that are happening that make mommy really sad. So no matter how I'm acting, if if I'm in my room and you need to come in here with me, you can. You may see mommy crying sometimes. Just know that it's not your fault. You didn't make me sad, and whatever it is you need from me and you want from me, I'm still going to do that for you, whatever that may be. But you're not going to see as many smiles from mommy right now because mommy's a little sad right now. I'll be better. It'll get better. I'll be fine. I just want you to know that mommy's a little sad right now. So whenever you feel sad, you can come and tell me that you feel a little sad right now too. And I'll
Hmm.
understand just like I want you to understand. And she was just like, okay. So that's what it had to be for me. And now that she's older, I can be like, I'm real irritated right now. Give me a moment. And she'll be like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I
And
love
she's
that.
the same way. She's like, she may come in slamming the door. I'm like, you got some money to put on the bill? Cause you slamming
Yeah,
doors like you
excuse
pay
me,
some
ma'am.
bills over here.
Excuse me, ma'am.
And she'll be
Okay.
like, I'm sorry, such and such and such and such happened. And I'm very annoyed. I'm like, do you want to talk about it now? I want to talk about it right now. We might talk about it later. I'm like, all right, fine. Like, cool. You're allowed to be pissed the fuck off, sweetheart.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're allowed. Now, you're gonna maintain your composure while you do that in this
That
house.
part.
But you wanna go in your room and scream? Cool. You wanna turn your music up for a little bit? You need to go in there and cry and have your alone time and your own personal space that you cultivated for yourself within the environment that you live in. That's fine. Scream all you want to, just don't scream at me.
That part.
For real.
My apologies. I have, listen, I don't watch these lives back and my short-term memory is effed. So I confused who had the daughter and who
I
didn't.
figured.
I was like, I know somebody. I know I had a conversation with one of you heifers about having a child
about
and being
kids.
divorced. I was like, I know I talked to somebody about this. What happened? I was like, wait
Man,
a minute, am I tripping? Thank you for bringing that up. My apologies. But
you good.
Okay.
what? How?
Side note, stop
Yeah.
apologizing for everything. Oh,
Yes.
stop
Yes.
apologizing for every fucking thing. You
Yes.
good.
Well, I just
Yes.
want to be a professional.
You
You
good.
know,
You
I do
good.
what I can. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You let that
How?
perfectionism go. Your Virgo is showing.
My Virgo is Virgoing. My Virgo is Virgoing. I need a graphic for that. I totally need a graphic for that. But one thing that I wanted to talk about, and since I have my fellow mom on the panel, I will ask you. Listen, I am someone who's having trouble with emotional availability because the root of my emotional availability is mommy issues. I did not have a mom that was emotionally available for me growing up, and I still do not have a gauge on what her emotional trauma was. I have done enough work within myself, and I have watched enough of Fix My Life to know that my mother was a woman before she was my mother, and that she has her own life and her own trauma that she has coming into her situation. So she may not have been able to be what I needed her to be as a mom in the present moment because she just didn't have it. That doesn't change the fact that I'm here.
Hmm.
Do you get what I mean? And I
Yeah.
especially feel that now being a mom. Like I see that so much now where it's like, wow, like life is happening. Shit is not okay right now. But I still have to wake up and be this girl's mom every day and take her to school, help her with homework, pick her up from ASP, and be invested in her life and be happy to see her and and laugh at all of her jokes that I don't understand and listen to all of the stories that don't make sense and watch the Unproud Family when I really don't want to watch anything right now. Like I still have to do all of those things,
Yep.
and it's like how sis, girl,
If there's
how?
no other time for you to turn autopilot on, is then. Because there was a space of time where I was like, fuck everybody.
Mhm.
Me, her, my mama, my cousins, my auntie, everybody. Like, I'm worthless in this moment. Fuck me as well. Fuck me and fuck y'all. Fuck life. Fuck it all. Fuck it. Fuck it. And it took me realizing there is no perfect parent. And kids don't want you perfect anyway.
No.
Like, I had to sit down for myself and think, if my parents were, what would make my parents perfect in my mind? And none of it had to deal with any of the shit that I was beating myself up about as a parent.
Mm,
No, that's deep.
All of it was,
right.
does she know you're here? Does she know you love her more than anything in this world? Does she know you would jump in front of a moving train if it meant that she could live another day? She knows
Right.
that. Do you know that about your
Oh,
parents? Yes. It's like, all right. And I had to, that was a big ass part of my healing. Like, your mother was a person before she was a mama. Your daddy was a person before he
Hmm.
was a daddy.
Yep.
You know the bullshit that you deal with, Joanna. Is it completely ridiculous to think that they had some bullshit to deal with too?
Mhm.
It's like, okay, okay. Like, they had their own demons, they had their own issues, they had their own depression, they had their own shit from childhood that they dealt with that they didn't heal from either. It's like they did the best they could in that moment with what they had.
Yeah.
And while it may not have been everything I needed, it was still the best that they could do. And that's literally all that you can ask for.
Mhm.
Like, I can't ask you to give me $1 billion if I know you ain't got it. Even
Right.
if I feel like you should have it, if I know you ain't got it, I will be a fucked up person to hold that against you for not giving me what I know you ain't got.
That's real.
Like, at some point, you need to realize you don't have it too. And if I need it, you need to go figure out how to get it.
Yep.
But I also have to be patient with you and know if they had it, they would give it to me. If they had the emotional intelligence
Mhm.
to give me everything that I needed, they would. So
Okay,
you
so
kind of
that.
have to also keep that in mind and be gentle enough with yourself,
Mhm.
which is my biggest thing. Cause I'm like Kiki said, like, ain't shit nobody can say to me that I ain't already said to my self worth. Bitch, you ain't
Right.
shit. Bitch, I told myself I was worthless all last year. You're gonna have to come in something better than that.
Right.
If
Like,
you
come
wanna
harder.
insult
Come
me in
harder,
real
sis.
life.
Real shit.
So that
Like,
makes so that raises a question for me because I like how you said the things that you were beating yourself up about as a parent have nothing to do with your parents' issues, right? For me, it's the complete opposite. All of the things that I would have wanted for my mom to be a perfect mom are all of the things that I feel like I'm failing my daughter at now.
Mm.
So now it becomes a question for me of am I inheriting trauma? Like, am I like there's always a joke that I would hear on sitcoms of olden days where like women would always be like, I don't want to be my mother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
yeah,
feel like I am literally becoming a picture perfect blueprint of that, where I'm becoming someone who is all about career and all about providing and all about making sure that my daughter has without actually taking the time to step back and making sure that I'm there. And not even just there
Yeah.
physically, I'm there mentally and emotionally and being completely present, right? And I'm like, I see that, and it's so I feel so like it is so triggering because it's like, wait a minute, how do I snap out of that? Like, how do I break that? How do I like, where's this? Where's the cord and how do I cut it? Because this cycle needs to be broken, sis. Like, I do not want to be like,
Yeah.
as we, as anyone who has watched a show from the '80s until now has seen, I don't want to be my mother, sis. Like, it's not cute for
Mhm.
me. Mind you, I feel the same
knowing
way related
that
to the story.
is the first step, I think. The fact that you can recognize that means that you can start to counteract that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
But
been
she has to
Or just
studied
face
half the
and
it.
battle.
proven. Yes, we are
She
our
still has
parents'
to.
trauma. We are our grandparents' trauma. We are our
Mhm.
ancestors' trauma. Like, that is literally, trauma is literally passed
Pass
through
down
your DNA.
generationally. Yeah. Especially as Black people. You gotta look at
Right,
that too.
exactly. So it's like the fact that you can see that enough to be like, huh, here I go with this bullshit again, means that you can see it and in that moment take steps to counteract it. Just like I say with negative self talk. Like, as soon as you catch yourself back to them old habits, hurry up and counteract that shit with, oh shit, I just ain't shit today. No,
Yeah.
I'm amazing today. I'm beautiful today. I'm qualified today. I'm powerful today. I'm this shit today.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
your subconscious does not know the difference. It
Right.
don't know, well, that's just me
So
being
true.
self-deprecating right now. I don't really mean it. No, this is what
Yep.
you're feeding me, so this is what I'm eating, so this is what you meant. So even when you don't mean it, think positively, say positive shit. So when you feel yourself doing that and make up in your mind, like, all right, start small. I'm going to take this particular time when I'm with her to be completely emotionally available.
Mm.
If that
Yeah.
means I get a little sad and cry a few tears, so be it. If she asks what's wrong, mommy just a little sad right now, I'll be okay. Okay, cool. But make yourself force yourself to be in that moment and feel what you're feeling in that moment and pull on the positive things that you're feeling in that moment. Pull from the love that she's giving you. Cause ain't nothing like you having the worst shitty day of your life and your kid come up to you, mommy, I love you. Like,
Mhm.
baby, here, take these keys, take this car. I'm gonna buy
Take
you
my
Santa Claus
wallet.
for
Oh my
Christmas,
God.
okay?
Right.
I'm finna
So
hop
let
out
me.
real quick because I am finna start driving, but I'll pop back in a little bit. Love y'all.
All right,
I
baby.
love
Love you
you.
too.
God bless,
Sorry, I keep coming in and out. My remember I said my tablet will freeze up.
Oh, yeah, you fine, baby. You know the door's always open, honey. I ain't needing it. I'm just
Okay.
playing. I'm joking. But I do want to extend a question to all of you. And I do want to ask both of you, do you guys feel like you, in hearing that, did it kind of make you understand your mom a little bit? And like, do you feel like you have possibly inherited any of the trauma from your parents that is now seeped into your own realities? And how do you kind of cope with that?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
What Joanna said about and you said this as well, but like realizing that your parent was a person before they were your parent. That was something I learned at like 19. And it wasn't even my mom who taught it to me, it was my dad. I had to
Mm,
realize that my dad he's almost 50 now and he still walks around, he's everybody's victim. You know, he doesn't take accountability for anything. And as a
Mm.
child growing up like that, it's very triggering because it's like your parent is blaming their shortcomings on you. Like you're always the scapegoat. You're the reason why this, you're the reason why that. And excuse me, and always trying to find a way to I don't to escape accountability. Like that's just the best way to put it. Everything is somebody else's fault. Somebody else did this. Well, this happened to me and that. And it was just always like I realized that my dad is a person who has so much trauma, and also like he went through something as a kid that I experienced as well. So like when you talk about trauma being passed down, traumatic experiences as well can be passed down, because if you don't break the cycle and you don't heal those inner traumas of yourself, those things can happen and repeat themselves with your kid, especially if you
mhm,
don't as an adult deal with yours, but then express how you dealt with yours and really navigate those conversations with your child, especially when it comes to sex, you know? So that's what I learned about my dad. And it came to me through my ancestors. They were like, wow, like, you know, your dad went through the same thing you went through. And yeah,
mhm,
he's a man, but it still happened, you know? And so it took a lot of time for me to learn and digest that my dad has a lot of trauma that and has a lot of undoing and unlearning to do. And
mhm.
thus I have a lot of unhealing. I mean, you know, I have a lot of undoing and unlearning to do as well because he passed that down to me. My mom is a professional people pleaser. She won the Olympic gold at that, and she's keep winning
Wow.
it every year. And I absolutely love her for that because it just speaks to her heart and how beautiful of a soul she is. She's so giving, but people take advantage of that because one thing I've learned about being a giver, you have to have boundaries because takers don't have any. Takers will continue to take
Mm,
until you have absolutely nothing left. And then look at you crazy because you're not able to continue to give to them. Like, what, you don't have anything left? What's the problem? Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you saying? You know, they get upset with you because you cannot give anymore. I'm completely broken. I am depleted. I am completely out of resources.
but you want
So,
everything.
yeah, and I had to learn that with myself. Like I became a people pleaser. I became an enabler because of my dad. I became a people pleaser because of my mom. So I had to learn how to set real boundaries for myself. And another thing about my mom and just her, not just her relationship with my dad, but also with my stepdad. Um I don't know if y'all believe in this or whatever, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it anyway. My mom and my stepdad are twin flames.
Hmm.
So you know, if you know
Yes, I
what that
do.
is, you know what that is, and that
Hmm.
journey is extremely, extremely difficult. Usually, your twin is the person that hurts you the most, and you have to learn to forgive them in order to get back to like where you are. Because a sense of you, it's like a piece of you is missing. Like you, so they take a piece of you with them when they do what they did, when they betray you or whatever it is that they do, because it always happens. It's just how the journey is. And me having met my twin flame and him doing something similar to me, it was very difficult. And I still struggle with this. And I met him 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And I'm still, a year ago is when everything happened, but a year later, I'm still dealing with what I'm dealing with. So I can't even really talk to my mom about it because she married hers. She married her twin. She
Yeah.
forgave him and they moved forward. But I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. It's just because I can't. I don't want to open myself up to allowing that betrayal to happen again. I
Hmm.
know I'm emotionally not mature enough to deal with it. So I'm not gonna put myself in that environment because ain't no telling what I'm gonna do. My mom is a different person than I am because I might catch a charge. So we different. But yeah, like everybody is different. So I had to realize that a lot of her traumas are my traumas. A lot of my dad's traumas are my traumas. And my
Hmm.
mom actually takes the steps to work through hers. My dad, not so much. So I have to work 10 times harder, just not with my own stuff, but with their stuff as well that they pass down on me. And a huge part of that is me seeking out spirituality. Like Joanna said, I have an altar. I have elements around my house that keep me grounded. I have things in my apartment that remind me of not just who I am, but whose I am, like my ancestors. And I feel them with every step I take forward, because I know that they give me the courage, the strength, the ability to keep going. Um, yeah, like just I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of things that I do in order to ground myself. Like even right now, like I just got done walking, but I came over to my mama's house, so I'm in my mom's backyard, my childhood home, like, and I'm just sitting outside grounding myself because this is home for me. This was home for me for a
That's
very
good.
long time. So I come home and I just put my feet in the ground. I come around my mom. I go around my aunties, my uncles, and my great grandparents. I still have great grandparents, y'all. So like that's a blessing in
Wow.
itself. There's so much
Right.
knowledge there. Yeah, like there's so much knowledge there. And I sit with them, I talk to them, and just show them I'm appreciative of them. And I talk to them. I talk to my great grandmother because she married my great grandfather when she was 14. Like it sounds weird, but back in the day, this what happened.
That's just what
Um,
that was a thing back in the day.
Exactly. That was the thing back in the day. And they had 9 kids together. So I talk to my grandmother. She tell me all the time, like, like, I'm proud of you and I see like what you're doing and stuff like that. Cause I mean, back then those women didn't have the option to leave. Like women really had relatively no rights, especially a black woman. So I sit with her because I wanna not necessarily make her proud, but I just wanna realize that what I have is a privilege. Like me being here and being the woman that I am is a privilege, and I should be grateful for that. So I try to show that to them as much as I can. And a part of that is sitting with them and listening to their trauma so it can help me get through mine. Because I'm not the first person who's going through the situation that I'm going through. I'm not, and I'm not going to be the last. So, I mean, again, like expanding yourself and exposing yourself to people who you can learn from. And you can learn from everybody. You'll be
Hmm.
surprised. Like I said earlier, every interaction is not by coincidence. It's something you can gain from this person or something you can learn, whether it's you from them or them from you. There's so
Mhm.
much out here, like everything is an opportunity.
One
And
hundred
you just got to be
percent.
willing to take it.
Let me shoot to Nikaya really quick. I wanted to ask because I wanted to see if you had any input on just how do you feel like you've inherited any of your parents' trauma or things that have troubled your parents and how you feel like that's instilled into your life? And then I want to extend a greater question to the entire group about um how women handle their depression in different age brackets because we all just happen to be women of like varying ages within this chat. So I wanted to just kind of touch on how we handle things at different ages. But I'm gonna also
Yeah.
bring up Andrea really quick as well while you're speaking. Go ahead, baby.
Um, Definitely inherited. My mom had me at a very, very young age. So although I got what I wanted material wise, even though she was young, she did what she needed to do.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, attitude. I mean, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it's so much to untangle. I couldn't even completely answer it but just telling you, yeah. I
I understand that.
mean, I've had to have some counseling behind it. I'll tell you that.
I suggest it for everybody, whether you feel like you have
Hmm.
trauma or not. I think that everybody should unpack their childhood and just see what's there regardless and just see how they're progressing emotionally regardless. Hey Andrea, how you doing, baby?
Oh, very well. I have a lot of not expertise, but I've been in the depression syndrome for a long time, and I've gotten therapy. And yeah, it's something that's very silent in some ways because it sometimes creeps up on you, and you don't know until some people have mild, some people it hits really hard, really fast. It's something that I've dealt with since probably in my early 20s when I had trauma in my life, and I think it comes from my parents too because they were born during the war as little children, and that was really devastating to have a childhood up in a war. So I always feel for when I see anybody in war, the little children and the mums and dads, and it's traumatizing when you don't have a normal childhood when you raise. And then when you come from parents like that, they teach you to survive. They don't teach you to thrive.
Hmm.
So you don't know any better. And I think when you have feelings and you have parents that are survivors, they don't acknowledge feelings. They just said like you're happy to be alive and thrive, and survive mode. But
Right.
but I noticed lately, like I've had a lot of therapy lately because I was had a lot of people around me died during COVID, and
Mm.
that
My
triggered a lot
condolences.
because I when I was early in my 20s, I had a child and it passed. So it caused that was my trauma of my life. And I have
I've
never
been there.
really fully recovered. When I was in my 20s, I don't even remember years of my life afterwards. And now in my late 40s, a lot of stuff has come out, but I have had a lot of therapy and it's helped a lot. And I have to say that I don't know if you guys have talked about pharmaceuticals. When I was younger, I tried it and
No,
it,
not
I
yet.
was not a good thing. But I
I
think,
was gonna ask about that as well.
yeah, pharmaceuticals, I've been put on something in the past 6 months and I feel like I did, oh, before my 20s, before all the trauma happened. It's reawakened some synapses in my brain where you don't go down that negative road right away. Instead, it's half and half. And let me tell you, my dreams are fantastic now. Like I have a lot of positivity in that way, which I don't think it's false. I think it's just the drugs are helping for years and years of having negative thoughts, whether it's minor or major, but it's pushing them aside and creating or allowing me to see the positives in life. So it's it's there's no magic bullet in all of this. You in one day, you just take it one day at a time. Then that's what I've learned too. Instead of being overwhelmed about everything, I can only do a certain amount today, and that's all I focus on, which helps. Okay, I've talked a lot.
Um,
Sorry.
no, you're fine because I was gonna actually ask you to elaborate on losing a child if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
But
I'm
because I have gone through that as well as I've mentioned on my channel before me and my ex-husband had our daughter, we were
yeah.
actually gonna have a son the year before and he was
Mm,
born and then he was immediately put into the incubator and he just didn't
mm,
make it. But
yeah.
Oh man.
um
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask how you dealt with that because I locked it away for 7 years because the
Yeah.
year at well 8 years because the year
Mhm.
after we had our daughter, and then I immediately like it gave me an excuse to switch myself out of thinking about that, and I just kind of locked it away and I never talked about it. I never had a conversation, not even with my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And
I understand that it's not something that your friends like I was in my early 20s, so I was still pretty immature. My friends were at that time, and my fiance at that time couldn't deal with it very well, and yeah, I locked it away too. I just, like I said, for 3 years I don't remember a thing. Like I've had whole conversations and my friend said, don't you remember that? And I don't remember anything. I completely blocked it out. And then in my 30s it came out at times where I wasn't expecting it, like someone who was pregnant and talking about something. All of a sudden the emotions came out and I had started having panic attacks, and those you just can't control. They come out of nowhere and you feel like you're having a heart attack. And it's, I had to go the first 2 or 3 times to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack. But once I knew I was having a panic attack, that's when I started seeing a therapist in my late 30s. I should have seen a therapist right away, but I don't know if it was suggested to me at the time or I ignored it. I really can't be honest about it. But I think what I've learned is it's something that now I can talk about. Maybe 2 years ago I couldn't talk about. It's always going to be with me, and it's never going to go away. I'm blessed to have gone through the experience, but in some ways I'm so hurt that I'd never had children afterwards. And um, I didn't want to be with, the men that in, dated at the time when I was 30s. I know they all wanted children, and I know I couldn't do it. It was just too traumatizing for me. So um, it's it's something that I think humans are not meant to endure too much, is to have a child die, and without counseling, um, it's hard. The damage is there and it'll always be there. And I try my best to live a good, peaceful life. And sometimes it's good days and sometimes it's bad days. And like I said, I was doing okay, but when COVID came around and so many people were dying that I knew personally, it triggered a lot of things. And it was actually, I had to go off work for a bit because it was my pet dog that died, and it really triggered a lot of emotions to my child. And when he passed, it it it's not something that you plan or rationalize. It's something that when you feel the sinking,
excuse me.
you have to reach out for help. And friends help is good, but sometimes professional help is better because they're trained, but they also know what to say and know how to kind of push you forward, because when you go into deep depression, you don't want to get out of bed. So the therapists are there to let's get out of bed, let's get you in a routine, and they're kind of like taskmasters when you're really falling down that rabbit hole. And then once you start getting out of it, then they can talk to you passively about how you're feeling and what's going on. I think they just want to get you that you're not comatose in some ways. I don't know if that helps, Jordan. I don't know if it's, I'm sorry if it's triggering you, or what
No,
you felt in
it's
the
fine.
felt something
It's fine.
completely different. I'm all here for you because I know what death feels like, and of a close person. And uh, it's everybody has their own experience.
I think for me, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it because I locked it away for all this time, and
Yeah,
then all
I
of a sudden, um, I just happened to be sitting in jail at the time, funny enough,
Mm-hmm.
and I just started unpacking it, and it all
Yeah.
hit me really hard. And then once I got out, I kind of hit the ground running back to try to like figure out my life and put myself back together and
Mm-hmm.
get back to regular life. And then
Mm-hmm.
like I never like I still haven't sat down and deal with it. And like me and my ex-husband, we still haven't sat down and had a conversation about it. And it's just like there's just so many things like that are associated with that that are heavy for me. But it's just I don't know how to deal with that because I still haven't like sat back and just like figured that out. Like
Maybe a grief counselor. Just you don't have to go to them in a way that you have to go to them forever, but maybe you need somebody that's trained just to start the conversation because I think once the floodgates are open, then it's going to come out in a healing way. Because sometimes it's what do you say to your partner, and that is the hardest part. But when you have somebody who's there in a neutral way, who's an expert in it really helps. It's different going to counselor than having a friend because a friend empathizes and it has the empathy, but the empathy is just going to keep you in the trauma you need. And I'm sorry it's bringing up a lot, but I think it's good, Jordan, because I know those tears. I know those tears. And there is there is a way, but I think you need somebody to help you with that first time of talking about it because sometimes you're looking for that door to open up, and sometimes you need help with that door to open it up. And if your ex is probably hurting as just as much as you, it doesn't mean, it means just to get together and heal that part of your life. And you heal completely, but at least you have a thriving to not thriving, but you don't want to just survive. You want to thrive. And these deep wounds, if they're not at least talked about, i- it's something that will always um, bring. It's surprising how it brings your negative space in other parts of your life that you don't realize. It's not
mhm.
intentional, but you're really reacting to your hurt inside is really pushing in other directions in your life, and you're trying to cope with probably self-destructive patterns, which I did too. I would, you know, not self-destructive patterns that I wouldn't enjoy myself. I wouldn't allow myself to put myself first. I hid behind helping everybody else instead of helping myself. And then it
Hence
got
my
to the
YouTube channel.
pardon?
Hence my YouTube channel.
Yes, yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, you're trying to help other people, and it will help you to a certain extent, but there's a
But
fine
I
line.
can admit that it's a distraction for me not
Yeah,
dealing with my own shit. I can completely be honest about that.
yeah. It's hiding, and I've done that many times to the point where you can't hide anymore. You know, and I don't want to say the cliche, it's a cry for help, but you have to think you're helping other people, which is great, but as much as you help one person, you have to help yourself too. So um I really have you reached out to your ex in the last while about this, or is it something you want to talk about now, or is it something that you want to talk about later? Because not everything can be done all at once.
I haven't even really, I haven't even dissected that to really
Okay.
like know what. Thank you, Kiki. By the way, I did read your private chat, but I haven't really thought about it because there was there was just a lot of things
Yeah.
that it's just it's like hard to talk about without like actually deep diving into the
Yeah.
situation, and I don't want to like, make this about
I
him and like make it a bashing session. I don't ever want to disrespect him because we have a
fair
child together, so I don't want to really go too deep into it.
no. And a lot of
But
pain,
sorry, go ahead.
and a lot of that pain too is it it's not worth it. And
Mm.
but I guess that pain, see that pain and that depression makes you think negatively that if you did reach out to him or reached out that it would be a negative situation, like he wouldn't respond the what you needed in order to heal. That was my biggest fear. Is
Well, the thing was, that's kind of what happened.
uh
Like, I expressed some things that I needed to get off of my chest because there's just a lot of the like, I'll put it like this in shorthand.
okay.
Um, I communicated a lot of things that I felt like were beneficial to the repair or the benefit of our relationship, right?
Okay.
Those things were in turn not paid attention to and um, not addressed from my ex's end until it was way too late. Now, after we have now split, now those things have gone back and have been addressed by him. And it's hard because I don't know how to have the conversation now because I waited so long to have it then. And
I
it's like I don't know what to do now. But
well, my my unsolicited solicited suggestion is to say I would love to have a conversation with you about something that deeply affected me. And at the time, I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't express myself. And it's something that I'm asking from you so I can heal. I'm not asking anything that for, specifically for you or it means something for our relationship. But in order for me to heal as a person, and we've had this shared experience, I'd like to share some things with you now that I couldn't before. And and I would, and to say, and I'm not sure how you feel, and if you had um some deep feelings too about this, I would also like to help you to heal. And if you have healed, all the blessings to you. And when you put it to somebody that way, for you're asking them for closure. You're not asking them for you're not doing it in a way to point fingers or to blame. You're just looking for, I need, you were there with me and I'm still having a hard time with it. And you know what, if he's mature in some ways, he'll understand that. I'm this happened a while ago and you were quite younger, and now I find that as people get older, they're willing to sit down and heal the past a lot more, because you're not talking to your ex when it happened. You're talking to your ex now, who has gone through a lot of emotions, a lot of life since then, and has a different perspective. I mean, I have a different perspective on what happened with my little one compared to when I was 20 till now that I'm in my late 40s. It's a totally different perspective. And I think you have to give your ex some credit that he's matured in some ways. Even whatever problems you have now, if it's something that you really, really, truly need, I think, you loved him at one time and he loved you, that at, he's going to be able to sit down, but you have to make that conversation happen in a very peaceful way. And you have to set the ground rules and just say, I'm coming to you in a place of love. I'm not coming to you in a place of attack uh, or pain. It's going to bring out some pain, but the pain is not directed at you. It's something that I need to get out in order to have a peaceful life. And I'm hoping that you can help me. When you approach it like that, I think, it'll give him something to listen to. It might not in the beginning, he might be kind of jarred by it, That's the worst reaction you can have. But if a person that you loved at any time in your life came up to you at that, of course you're willing to help heal a person with such a thing. I hope that helps, Jordan.
It does. Um,
It will happen. It will happen. You have
I
to.
just, I'm a hard time, like, I have a hard time communicating these types of things, and I have a hard time impressing my pain or my trauma onto other people.
I do too.
I, I never want to burden anyone,
I do.
but like
It's
at
so
the same,
overwhelming.
yeah. But if I could, I wanted to kind of redirect a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. A lot. So
um,
absolutely.
I wanted to ask you guys um just about the different age brackets that we are all in, because I know that um we are all of different ages, and I wanted to know like how receptive people were to the conversation of mental health, or the things that we were going through mentally as children, how it was different then versus how it is now, and how we at our different ages have found our comfortability dealing with our own issues now. I wanted to actually start with Kiki because I think you're somewhere near my age or younger than me or older than me. I can't remember. Girl, how
Yeah,
old
I'm
are you?
younger.
How old
Yeah,
are you,
so I'm
baby?
25,
Okay,
and
see, you're 25, I'm 30, and then y'all can reveal y'all ages if you so choose. It's up to you.
I'm 49.
And I will be 45 in January.
Okay, so I wanted to like dissect like what that conversation was of like how the conversation of depression was looked at when we were kids versus how it's looked at now, and like how we see it now, and how more and how at our different ages, how easy or difficult it is to be vulnerable enough to express these things in
Mhm.
this day and age with the reception and all of that stuff. But I wanted to start with Kiki though.
okay, so growing up, I didn't start necessarily having symptoms and like signs of depression or anxiety until I got to about, let's say, 13, 14.
Mm,
And even then they were very mild. They weren't bad at all. I didn't start to really have like panic attacks and stuff like that and anxiety attacks until I got to about 18 and 19. And for a long time, I was under the impression that I was the only person that was going through that. Like, not
mm,
just around me and my peer group, but like not just my friends, but also my family. And it wasn't until I was 20 years old, my mom told me, she was like, "Oh, yeah, your uncle used to have panic attacks." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, my uncle
Mm.
used to have panic attacks?" She's like, "Yeah, like, he used to have them all the time." And I was like, "Wait." So when I was going through my stuff and I was in the thick of mine, like, you saw me like balled up, like laying on the floor in a fetal position, like crying, cannot like breathe. If anyone's had a panic attack or anxiety attack, you know what that feels like.
Yep.
And you feel so alone. You feel so alone. You feel so misunderstood, and they would call me crazy. Like my mom would call me crazy, or I don't mean to offend anybody with these thoughts because I don't feel this way, but my mom would be like, "Oh, that's that white people stuff." Like
No,
you acting like the white people right now. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
having a panic attack was a white person thing. Like we don't do that. Why are you
yes.
doing that? You know what I mean? Like basically like making it feel like I was the outsider. Like I was doing something that we just don't do. Like why are you doing that? And making me feel like it was my fault that I was going through what I was going through. And yeah, like it wasn't until I had been dealing with it for like 5 6 years that someone was like, my mom was like, "Oh yeah, your uncle used to have those." I'm like, "Well, why didn't you tell me that when I was going through it by myself, and you made me feel bad about going through it?" Like I thought it was something that,
100%.
I don't know. You already feel alone, going through that. but then also having someone reinforce it by saying like, why are you acting like this? Like, why are
Yeah,
you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
What's
yeah,
wrong with you? You know, because you already feel like, what's wrong with me? But then to have someone else tell you that, especially someone so close, tell you like, what's wrong with you, it just
mhm,
makes it feel worse. It makes it feel that much more lonely. It only gets darker from that point.
Yes.
And um for a long time, that's where I was, and I didn't deal with my depression for a long time. That was also around the time that the Trayvon Martin stuff happened, the Mike
Mm-hmm.
Brown stuff happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that happened in Florida and Missouri. And I was like, Missouri's not too far from where I am, and those things just make you. I don't know, like it's just. I started looking at my family members differently, like my little brother, my little cousins, because they're young black men, and I don't mean to make it about race, but there are just certain things and certain systems in place that
Absolutely.
I have to worry about as a black woman that
Mm-hmm.
other people do not have to.
yeah. That's,
So
I mean,
yeah,
it's
like, and
race
because
is a
those
part of mental too. Shoot.
exactly, and
And,
also like I mean, if we want to really get into it, like we talked about trauma being passed down. I mean, like
yeah.
what's more traumatic than slavery? You know,
Right.
like let's be honest, and separating
Yeah,
families and destroying communities. What is more traumatic than that?
yeah,
No.
and it just
So
trickled down generation after generation.
Yeah.
exactly. And if you're not dealing with that, then what do you think is happening over time? It's just getting worse. So
Right.
it became very crippling for me, and then I started to go to therapy. I started to work through my issues. But even then I found a lot of difficulty finding a therapist that understood where I was coming from, especially in my city. Um being a black woman, and then like being a dark skinned black woman, and then being a dark skinned black woman who also is bisexual. Like it's just there are layers and levels to it
Mm-hmm.
that it was even hard it's even harder to find someone that could even not just understand my perspective, but like even see it. Like you don't even know what I'm dealing with because you don't even see me as who I really am. Like you just
Mm-hmm.
it's not I don't know, it's not the same. I'm not completely
Right.
visible to you because our struggles are different. You don't come from the same life that I come from,
No.
and that was difficult for me. So I'm gonna be honest. I started self medicating, and then I was really heavy on smoking weed and shrooms. Like that was my thing. Being in
Mm.
college, everybody's doing a little bit of everything, but
Yeah.
those are my two
Right.
go tos. I didn't really mess with anything else as far as like pills and stuff like that. It's just not for me.
No, I'm glad.
I already was going through anxiety, so I don't need anything that's an upper. I need downers. So
Exactly.
No.
that's what I tended to indulge in. And up until recently, like I actually just stopped because I was just like, I don't really need it anymore. I don't need to self medicate anymore because
That's
I've
good.
learned a healthy way to deal with my traumas. And the healthiest way for me is to stay kind of active. Just even like just today, like I went for a walk and then I came over to my mom's house. Like things like that. Very
Mm-hmm.
small things. You don't have to be a gym rat to, like be mentally where you should be or anything like that. Don't make anyone feel like you even have to be active. But I feel like for me, being physical has helped me a lot. Yoga and meditation has saved my life. I know Jordan spoke to that. Has
Good.
been doing yoga for what, 15 years?
Wow.
15 years strong.
15 years. Like exactly for me it's been 4 almost. I'm coming up on 4. I also went plant-based and that was really good for my mental and my physical. I lost a lot of weight, y'all. I look crazy out here. I
Good.
look like a completely different person. But I lost a lot of weight and that was good for a little bit, but then it got very isolating because I was the only person being plant-based. I didn't have any plant-based friends, so
uh,
I wasn't able to socialize with anybody, so that kind of just reinforced the depression, like the anxiety and feeling alone. So I stopped doing that because of that. And now I'm just at a place where I learned that if I just work, I move around. Thank you, Rosemary. If I move around enough, if I write down my feelings, again, I do
mhm.
the 30-second thing where I allow myself to feel my emotion, then I let it go. I do the
Hmm.
3 questions, like what exactly am I learning from this feeling that I'm experiencing, whether it be positive or negative. And then I do the 5 years, 5 minutes. I do the 5 year 5 minute thing. Like if it's not gonna matter 5 years from now, don't give it no more than 5 minutes. Allow yourself to feel it and
Yeah.
then release it. Release it and let it go because I'm the type of person I will hold on to something for dear life,
Mm,
and it will completely destroy me if I allow it to. But
that's
I
Mhm.
stopped giving
depression
those things the
talking.
power over me. So I
100%.
think the way I deal with depression has changed so much because I have changed. I've had to do the work. I've had to
Yeah.
do a lot of shadow work. I did hella soul searching. So much soul searching. It's like and one thing I learned was I grow in and out of myself so quickly. I can't even keep up. Like honestly. Um and
I
that's why it's
understand
important to
that.
have a journal for me. Yeah, like having a journal has helped me a lot. And I always
Oh,
go back and I read through my journal before the new year because I'm like, this next year, I want to take those lessons that I learned last year and really put them forward and really look at things from a different perspective. Because if you're not constantly growing, if you're not constantly uncomfortable, then you're not growing and you're not evolving. That and then you're not being a better person. You're not getting to the best version of yourself. And I want to always be working towards getting to the highest version of me. So going
100%.
through those oppression cycles was hell, but it was absolutely necessary for where I am now.
Well, that's
I'm just glad
discovery.
you took care of it. Yeah, she took care of it early. See, mine,
Mhm.
I covered it up until the age of 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that happened with, my dad. That just took
Oh
took
yeah.
me out. That took me out.
Yeah.
Like I had just lost my uncle that was a dad to me in January, and then I lost my dad in May.
Mm,
So I
Mm-hmm.
never really grieved my uncle
Right.
properly. You know what I'm saying? So it took me out. I could no longer hold it in. I mean, I still was. I'm fine. I'm fine until one day I just wasn't there no more. I
Yeah.
checked out for
mm.
a minute,
And you know what I
and that
find?
scared me. So once that happened, that scared me. And I said, "Oh hell no! What if I don't come out next time?"
Exactly. What did you do to circumvent those feelings? How did you combat that?
The first thing I did was start telling my husband every time I felt some type of way.
Mm,
That was the first thing I did. The second thing is I actually got really close to my sister channel and the ladies from there. Sort of how we growing as friends, you know what I'm saying? But it
Mm-hmm.
got real. They was there. They helped me pull through this virtually. And then at one point I knew there was an imbalance. So I knew I needed some medication. So I went and got that, but I weaned myself off of that with meditation.
okay.
So um and giving myself 10 affirmations every morning. Every morning I woke up, I gave myself 10 affirmations. Five, what I
Joanna
have.
spoke to me about that the other day.
Yeah. Five, what I had, what I'm grateful for now, and five that I will be grateful for.
Mm,
So, um, but I'm still, like I said, and then y'all came along. So, well, shit. What else is there to say?
I love that. I appreciate you for that. How do you, Andrea, how do you, in just your day to day, go about coping with the smallest triggers that, like, it could be the simplest thing that could trigger the molehill. Like, how do you go about combating that and make sure that you're keeping yourself in just a general context of just, not,
Um,
well, I don't want to say zen because
no, I
you know what happened to
think
Win.
well, my therapist helped me with a routine. It's important to have a routine, and included in the routine is meditation, also deep breathing. Um, and if I'm finding myself in a funky day, I make sure I do an extra walk and keep moving like Kiki's doing, because all of it is all connected. And if I find if I keep that routine, I'm okay. And then life happens sometimes and you fall off that routine. And so you have to make sure you get back on it. Make sure that you got to get out of bed. Got to walk the dog. That's why I got a dog. I got to, I have elderly parents, and that helps too because they're 85 or so. And so they need my help. And I'm not going to burden them with what's happening with me if I'm feeling bad. So but when I feel like I'm feeling empty, I lean on my friends and my loved ones, that can
Mm,
handle it and that know me, and I've opened up to them. I've learned that I am worth it. So if I'm having a hard day, I'll text a friend, say I we need to talk, or I need to talk in the next day or two or three. When you have time, can you call me? And I just kind of very specific of like, this is really, stressing me out and I need to release it. And once I've talked about it, it's kind of goes off into the ether. But
right.
I wanted to talk to Kiki, and just let her know that I'm really proud of her. I think she's really got a healthy mentality, and you keep the work going. And as you get older, you have like big cycles of great time and then low time, because as life goes on, it kind of knocks you down once in a while. But keep that pattern going and hold on
Mm-hmm.
to it no matter what it's worth. And
Yeah, she's way
speaking of,
more pulled together at 25 than I was.
and I'm
Yeah.
glad, well, I think it's generational too. Like, no, I mean, Kiki's really done the work, but when I was growing up, mental health wasn't even talked about. It wasn't
Yeah.
even, there was
Yeah.
no such thing. And I grew up in a small town. Like, I live in Toronto now, and I'm really grateful because it's a really multifaceted city. It has a lot to offer as far as acceptance of different people, diversity, but by no means, like Kiki was also earlier talking about race, and that I'm a white woman and I will never pretend to understand what it's like to be black. And I'm not, and I hate when white people pretend that concept that, I understand where you're coming from. I will never understand it. And that is a pressure you guys have that I don't understand. And it's when Kiki also talked about being generational. I get that too. I know there's studies upon. I know with my parents growing up in war, that you do with, if your parents live through trauma, it's actually, they've proved like in your DNA almost that you have trauma in yourself as well, because your parents, most likely up until now, not many parents that went through trauma deal with it. And I had a parent like Kiki's in the way saying, just deal with it, just deal with it, and it's not that big of a deal. And
Right.
didn't, and I was always told, don't, how should I say, it's not a big deal. No matter what emotion you had, it wasn't va- um it wasn't validated. It was just, be strong or nothing. So when I
Yeah.
first
Hmm.
went to therapy, they would it's not CBD oil, it's cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. And they say, okay, here's the situation, how do you feel, what happens afterwards, and that. And I would said, well, here's the situation, and I feel nothing. And they're like, you have to feel something. And I said, no, because I was taught to be numb and not to feel anything. So any emotion, whether it was
Exactly.
negative, highly negative, highly positive, or in that gray zone, I don't identify with it. I had not the most pressurized job in the world, but I had a pretty stressful job for a while. And I would have it, I would be confronted by the public, and then they would say, "Well, how do you feel?" And I'm like, "Nothing." I just would deal with it, and then 3 days later, I would not want to get out of bed because of all these situations that swirled. Like when a pressurized situation comes, I just go into numb mode. Do you guys find that?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
the only way that I'm
All the
able
time.
to
Function.
function in reality is if I cut my emotions off and then I go into this character of being on,
Yeah.
right? And I think what kind of triggered that for me is like me wanting to be in the entertainment industry and me finding solace in being able to step
Mhm.
outside of myself and step on stage and being able to
Ah,
just detach from reality for a few minutes.
that's why you're so good on the on YouTube. But
But it's a little bit unhealthy. It's a
it
little bit
is.
unhealthy because I sometimes tend to stay in there too long because I'm able to detach for long periods of time, right?
Yeah.
So that's why if you see me on live for maybe 3 or 4 hours at a time, it may not be so unrealistic of you to message me and ask me if I'm okay.
Oh no, I realized that roller coaster right away when I saw you online, and then when you're in different chat rooms, and then you had your own, it all made sense. But I
Hmm.
Yeah.
understand to some people, well, to many people it wouldn't, but you you were hiding in some
Yeah.
way. And we all
Yeah.
do it. We all do it. I mean, there's not anybody that doesn't hide behind a facade once in a while. Because if we, my gosh, if we had our emotions all in our sleeves all the time, that would be exhausting as well. Sometimes it's you need to hide for self-preservation. You know.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I extend a question to you, Andrea? Because
Sure.
I am somebody who wants to find a good therapist, right? I've been in
Okay.
therapy off and on since I was 14 years old, right?
Mhm.
But I found myself coming across a bunch of career therapists and not really getting what I need as far as doing the actual work
Mm.
and equipping me with tools and really,
Yeah.
getting into the crux of what I need to combat my traumas and do the work, not to be cliche
Yeah.
about it. But
Well,
how have you gone about not only finding a good therapist, but
mhm.
like relinquishing that hesitation and just opening yourself up enough to a therapist to actually trust them to do the work?
Well, for one, you can shop around it just because you go to one therapist. It doesn't mean it's the end all to be all. Sometimes you need a couple to, like, my first therapist when I was in my early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, was a psychiatrist, and it worked. I mean, for a year I was there just because I was off work, and it was somebody that recommended somebody. Nice man, but it didn't work. So now I have a therapist through my doctor, and she's around the same age as me, and she's CBT therapist, cognitive behavior therapist. And what that does is it breaks down how it tries to retrain your thoughts. You don't go into the, I mean, eventually through, and you have to take 2 to 3 years to do this. It's not something that's going to help in a day and sit and tell the whole life story. They're not really interested in the beginning in your whole life story. They're more interested in what are your symptoms now? What negative thoughts are you feeling? Are you feeling any thoughts? And try to establish a healthy routine for yourself. And they're like taskmasters. I hated going because I hate talking about myself.
That
But
sounds like exactly what I need, though.
that's what's helped me. And as time goes on, you realize through these sessions and through talking to them, they get to know you more, and you release more from your past and why you're there. They don't
Hmm.
necessarily need to know why you're there. They just know you're there. And if you follow the steps, like, they're going to tell you things that you don't want to do, and it seems out of left field, but you do them. You do the work. You have to actually write down and do homework. It's
Hmm.
not something where you can just talk with a friend over a glass of wine and say, "Oh, that person's a jerk," and you laugh it off. It's
But
more.
that's what I've been looking for though. Like that's really what I've been looking for all this time, and
Oh,
that's why therapy hasn't worked for me
so
because I needed somebody to actually equip me with the tools to do the work instead of just asking me how my week was and just giving me someone to talk to. I didn't
yeah,
need someone to
no.
talk to. I needed somebody to help me really work through things.
So you need a cognitive behavior therapist.
Mm,
CBT is what it's called. And there's quite a few out there.
I'm
So you
writing
can,
this down.
yeah, cognitive behavior therapists. They really kind of treat you like I said, when you're feeling low and you don't want to get out of bed, they're like, okay, like you have to write in your diary, if you're feeling bad, I didn't get out of bed till 10. So then they're gonna look, why didn't you get out of bed at this time? You're supposed to get out at 8 o'clock and you're supposed to be on a walk, or you're supposed to like literally have a shower. Like it's as fundamental as that, because once you train your mind that you have to do something every day at the same time, it regulates you and it puts you on a task. It sounds a little military at first, but I
You
mean,
know what I was thinking it sounded like?
what's
Teddy Mellencamp's All In.
kind of in some, just, and that's only in the beginning. Like it's not something that after a while. I mean, I've been going to my therapist for 6 years now, and now it's just more checkups more than anything
Mm,
else. And but I have to take that routine helps. I mean, you alter it on the weekends and stuff like that, but if you're in a bad depression state, you don't do that. So if when you feel yourself slipping, you already use those tools that your therapist has given you. Deep breathing's a big one. Deep breathing is a huge one for therapists, and the mindful apps and stuff like that, and making sure that you're getting better. And also with medicine too. Like sometimes, like I said, I'm on a medicine called Abilify, and I can tell you it's the best medicine. I've been on Prozac many years ago, did nothing. Cipralex did not much, but Abilify, and a lot of people have been using that in the last couple years, and it's really worked. It bumps up your energy. It, like I said, I've had such good dreams in the past, like I would say 2 months, because I've maxed out on the Abilify. I had a dream that Brad Pitt was after me instead of Angelina Jolie, and I woke up and I go, "Oh, I'm more pretty than she is."
I
I,
love that.
that
I
sounds
love that.
it sounds so weird, but in some ways it just meant my self-esteem. Like I'm being playful in my dreams, so that means
Right.
like I'm
You're
being
enjoying
much more,
something.
yeah, I'm being much more playful in my life, and that is inherently my real personality. And for years and years, I used to say, I'm just not myself. I'm just not myself. I'm just not myself. But I'm finding, like I said, I'm more and more like myself again, where I'm playful and having playful times. I'm finding if you get older and you're with depression and you've lived with it for a long time, you're not playful. Like those
Hmm.
playful moments have, or if they're fake, they're few and far between, and that takes a lot of work. And what Kiki said, with what she's doing is a lot of what I'm saying with routine as well too. But if you have somebody that's a professional that, um, and I found what was the most interesting part, she was hard on me on things that I wasn't hard on myself about, and what I was hard on myself about, she gave me a let, if that makes sense, to break the pattern. Like, when you're hard on yourself on something, she would say, it's okay, Andrea. It's not the end of the world. And then when
Mm.
I wasn't being a self advocate for myself, she's like, why aren't you, you have to, put yourself first in these things. And she was a taskmaster in that way. Does that make sense?
100%. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I need.
Yeah.
Like I need someone to actually give me like tools and things and
Yeah.
homework and actual like instructions and exercises to really like I need the retraining of the thoughts because giving somebody like for me, giving me somebody to talk to is cool, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to be sitting with the same thoughts.
Yeah,
and
your
I'm
friend.
still going to be thinking in the same ways, and my mental process is still going to function the same way. I need somebody to break that cycle and break that
Yes.
chain because it really, that's what weighs me down. It's not the lack of having someone to talk to, it's the fact that I'm always going to need to talk.
Yeah, and there's a difference between, like I said, your friends know your story and can be sympathetic, but if your friend told you get out of bed and meditate at this time of day or do this or let me have, it's kind of like a dietitian saying, okay, what do you eat for the day? If your
Mhm.
friends do that, you're gonna look at your friend's side eye, and plus your
Like,
friend
bitch, who
doesn't
you
want to.
talking to?
And yeah, and your friend doesn't want to do it either. Like they have their
Right. They don't want,
to
they
deal
have their
with.
own shit to be worried about.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think
They're
the
probably trying to get themselves out of bed.
yeah, yeah, and all of us in the last couple of years with COVID and the way things are going, and no offense, but holy crap, like coming from Canada looking at the US, you guys have really been put under a lot of strain in the last years between race relations, between your political stuff. I mean, I used to have
Hmm.
a house in Florida and I sold it, and I'm no offense, I'm
Couldn't
finally
move.
glad. Well, I had
No
a
offense to me. I didn't write the Constitution.
no, well, no, I mean,
I'm not a part of the government.
my neighbors down south like you guys. I really, really do. But some of it's really
A
you
hot
got
ass mess.
from the outside looking in, yeah, a little bit. Not that Canada's anything great. We have our own problems. I mean, we're not perfect in any respect, but wow, you guys are like
Sure, but
really
we can
Wild
call it
West.
without disrespecting it. Like, you can say that
Yeah.
America's a hot ass mess without hating America.
True. Yeah, and that that's it. Like it's the wild for me it's like the Wild West. It's like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening again?"
It's the
But
wild lower 48.
it really is. It really is. But I had when I had a place down there, a lot of great people, a lot of great neighbors. Um, but the race thing really affected me. Like the difference between if you were in a room it was only white people, how racist they were, and like my father and I were our mouths would drop to the floor. I'm like I was shocked, and maybe I'm lived a sheltered life, but yeah, it really it bothered me, and it bothered me so much. I'm like, do I want to, I bought the house with intending to retire, halfway or half of the year, and I thought I can't retire in Florida. These people are just too much for me. It's
Hmm.
different to come down for a couple weeks, but to come down and deal with all of that, no, thank you. It's
Yeah.
not my cup of tea. I rather prefer cold Toronto than to hang out there. But that's just me. But I'm getting off topic. So back to the CBT, the cognitive behavior therapy is you should read up on it and see if it's for you. And even if it's not to your liking exactly, there might be something in that neighborhood for you because
I've made a whole sticky note about it on my laptop. I'm definitely going to look into it
uh,
once we get off of this live for sure.
yeah, because I think you figured out why you're feeling that way, and
Hmm.
you've I can tell that you're very deep thinker, and you know why exactly you're there. So that doesn't need to be revisited. It's to what needs to be done is somebody who can, like like I said, forgive you for help you forgive certain parts of things, and then put focus on your self-worth, because depression also, I think we haven't talked about this, is owning your self-worth,
Hmm.
because depression really knocks down your self-worth,
I
like at
deeply
least for me.
struggle with that.
Yes, and when I really open up to people about my struggle with depression, I'm really surprised. Well, in the beginning I was surprised, but when you really talk to people and scratch the surface, not many people know their self-worth. They talk about it like they do because it gets them through the day, but do they really feel it?
Hmm.
That's the difference. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, feel." I think that's the when you're youthful and younger, like, you're conquering mountains. But once you get kind of to, you're not going to climb that much higher, and you're like, okay, this is it. Do I really love myself? I think we do love ourselves. I think it's just we've carried that pain of all the stuff getting there, all the bullying, all the things that were not said. I think the kindness part of the world has lost, and a lot of people have, you know, depression is what is something that you're hurting yourself inward, and you can't get around it. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm babbling on. I'm taking away from the
No,
truth.
no, I completely agree with you. I think that it's all about taking the time to try to figure out exactly where you need to be and like how you need to get there. And then once you figure that out, it's like locating the proper resources to facilitate that change. And I wanted to go back and to just wrap this up and like
Yep.
kind of close for the day. I wanted to go to Nakaya and speak back to something that you mentioned earlier when you were talking about race. And I wanted to speak with Nakaya and I wanted to speak with Kiki and Joanna about this earlier, but we got lost in the chat and we got caught up talking about some other things. But I wanted to talk about the stigma of what it means to have to be a strong black woman when we're in America, because people usually say that it is something that is a compliment, but then if you really pay attention to what that is when it says being a strong black woman, it becomes a stigma
Mm.
that takes away a woman's opportunity to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And I want to talk to Nikaya about that and just see if she kind of feels the same way that I do about it. Because with being that way, especially living as a trans woman, it's kind of like it's kind of made me feel like like it's lessened my validity to my voice because I have other thoughts that combat that. Like, well, you still profit from male privilege because you're a trans woman. So it's like, how can you have a voice about what a woman feels and da 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 da? But then we don't want to have a whole conversation about my mental process and how I think and all of that. But Nakaya, jump in, baby.
Hey, for me, I'm gonna start it off with what you ended with. So you're having the what do you know about being a woman, blah blah blah. Where I got what do you know about being a black woman? Because you have white privileges. You have
Mm,
light skin privileges, because you know. So
hmm.
I had to deal with that, which I've never had any privileges that just stuck out like people seem to believe I do.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a whole nother conversation. Um, where I live is highly racist. Like
Hmm.
probably 5 years ago, they were still calling us colored.
Mm.
So,
Sorry to hear that.
um, huh?
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's not you, but I appreciate that. Um, and they didn't say it in a nasty way. It was more of a
I don't see color type of way.
generational. No, it was more generational. That's what they knew.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
That's
what they. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. So, um, I just wish this is more for you, I think. I mean, or someone of a darker color, because my thing is I just really want us all to come together and quit acting like damn idiots and always this colorism and this and that, and you know what I'm saying? I just really wish we would come together.
I agree with that. I think for me, it used to be a point of strength where, I used to want to, growing up, especially pre-transition, I grew up and I wanted to be a strong black woman. And then
Mhm.
now when I stepped into that, in when it involved my transition, I think it became a stigma to me. Hold on a second. Silas is cutting a damn fool.
And
Oh my God.
I forgot you said the strength part.
Come on, boy.
I can answer about the strength part.
Please do.
I totally forgot about that.
Please
Um,
do.
I I'm at a point with everything that has gone on in the last couple of years of FUCK strong.
Hmm.
I'm over the stigma of black women always got to be strong.
Right.
Because there was a time I couldn't be strong. So I do have to deal with that. That's just my motto now. Before it was like you bottle up everything. You don't want to show nobody your vulnerability. I forget that because that alone will take you out.
100%.
So that's about it.
I think for me, it is for me trying to figure out how to be a strong black woman when strong black women don't validate me, because in my existence as a trans woman, I feel like the majority of the backlash that I get, or the majority of the resistance, rather, that I would say that I get when it comes to being accepted, rather, not just from the masses, but like on a personal level, it would be from black women. Like, I feel like most of the time black women don't understand me. Now, while my experience on YouTube has completely counteracted that and completely contradicted that, and it um, saved my perception from narrowing to a stereotype, it still bothers me that, like, on a personal level, I can't have a one-on-one experience with black women in my real life. Not that I really have a experience with people in my real life. I'm pretty much a recluse. So, but just to see the environment or the stigma or the culture that happens between the infrastructure of the black community is really hard, because I have to walk out and live that every day, regardless of if I experience it on a regular basis. It's just
You still
being
experience.
like seeing it and knowing that that is like what my reality is, because I'm a part of that community. It's like I'm going to, at some point, especially now with me being on like a public platform such as YouTube, the more that my channel may grow, the more opportunity that I'm going to have to experience those type of things. So it's like you may as well be prepared for it, even if you're not going through it. And so I think for me, where it comes in being a strong black woman, it's like I've always grown up admiring strong black women, but then when I step into being that, it becomes more so about being a strong black woman means that the strong black woman is ignored. It means that the strong black woman is not allowed to be vulnerable. She's not allowed to be her whole well-rounded self and have the same emotional bandwidth that a woman of any other race or color is allowed to have, because she's strong. She is what who like has it all together. She is the backbone of her race. So in that, she's not allowed to have any form of weakness, which is not even weakness, it's just vulnerability and the human process of going through life. Like, I go through that as well, yet I'm not really allowed to communicate that to other black women, because in their eyes, I'm not a real woman. Does that make sense?
No, I know it's a lot of that out there. Um, Personally, I've never even had a conversation with a trans woman. This year, my first.
Mhm.
And if anybody, is that how you let's start with this, because how do you identify with yourself exactly to a T?
I identify as a trans woman that has a non-binary presentation. So I'm just a trans woman that's androgynous.
I like that. So I like that. I like how you put that.
I do what I can.
Yeah, you know, that's my
I,
pearls, not in the bad way though. Like, honey.
I've had a lot of time to think about it. Like if like to give you an example, like I am a like I identify as a woman. I only feel comfortable using she her pronouns. Like I identify as a woman. However, I recognize that my look is androgynous. So I liken myself more to a Lena Waithe than a Laverne Cox. Even though my joke is that Lena Waithe isn't trans and I'm not a lesbian. So we're even.
Gotcha.
I love
Gotcha.
that.
What was the question?
It was it was just more so how do you reconcile the stigma of being considered or having to be a strong black woman when you also want to give yourself the room and the brevity to be a fully functioning emotional human being. How do you separate the stigma of I'm a strong black woman and from I'm also just a person who needs to feel sometimes, and sometimes I just need to cry and do me and seclude and not be so damn strong all the time. Sometimes I just need to be weak. So lean more into your fuck strong theory because that is leaning directly into the answer to my question.
Yeah, that's I had to learn in the last few months. I'll say I'll even give it a year. Fuck strong. I didn't have a choice. I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
broke. I
Yep.
broke. So I no longer had a choice. And when I realized I was able to still at least open my eyes the next day, even though I was not strong that day, I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, shit. You
You
better
guys,
leave me alone talking about strong today because Nick ain't strong today. Nikaya is not strong today. So if you got a problem with it, oh well. That's so I just grew into it, I guess you could say.
Nikaya, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that after you broke and you cried that you felt stronger after you cried, but not before? You know, leading up to it, you feel like you have to be strong, strong, strong. Then you can't be strong anymore, and you cry, and it's almost like you washed over with some peace because the people who support you and are strong for you are really there, and you don't see it most of the time.
That's why I said it wasn't something I woke up one day and said, I'm not gonna be strong no more.
Yeah,
I I like checked out for a minute.
yeah,
Like I literally was on my bed and next thing I know, there's no bed, there's no TV, no dresser. It's just four walls. There
yeah,
was even I didn't even see a door.
yeah,
And I snapped out of it. And ever since then it was like fuck strong. Cause
yeah.
what if I don't come out of it next time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be in full disclosure to you guys. About 2 weeks ago, my sister in law, she had a lot of pressures with being a business owner and for COVID with a lot of lockdown. She started having inward problems, and she went to my brother and went to her friend saying, I have some really dark feelings right now, and right now she's in a hospital because
Mhm.
she broke. She she really broke, and before she broke, at least she was, something in her said, I need to tell somebody before she. I mean, she did try to hurt herself, but she she asked for help beforehand, and it's
Yeah.
it's really hard because I'm looking at it now. If you don't ask for help or if you don't lean on the people who love you, and I don't know why we don't, we just don't. It's, I guess it's those strong components that make us strong, and we're taught to be strong. But if we're don't lean on people, then if we break, it's really hard to pick us up. I mean, I broke, and like I said, I don't remember a lot of years of my life, but I didn't break to the point where I was self harming in that way, like physically self harming. And I feel
I'm
for
very
her.
familiar.
Yeah, she's very, very fragile. I'm trying to explain to my 85-year-old parents that it's not an act. They're
Hmm.
just thinking, oh, she's just trying to pay, get attention. And I said, no, no, like people in this day and age don't try to harm themselves if, if, especially if they have a family that they don't want to be like that. Like if you have children and that, the last thing you want to do is harm yourself. You want to be there for because it would harm your children if it's going to harm, if you harm yourself. So,
Exactly.
so that's the thing is that we owe it we not only owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the people who love us, because if we're not if we're harming ourselves, but if we're not functioning, the people who love us feel bad for us and feel like how they feel at a loss too, that they can't help us as whatever. So it's we have to we're not a, we as much as we're trained to be an island, because I think that's the easiest way to stand up. We have to not be an island anymore and rely on people, because
Yeah.
they surprise us more than we think.
100%.
Sorry, I didn't cut in there on
Sometimes.
indicator. It's just it's
No,
there's
it's all
lot
good. It's all
lots going
necessary.
on in the Toronto household lately.
It's all necessary. I completely
Yeah.
understand. I
And it was
wanted to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, and it was funny because our family, we really came together during this, because on top of that, when she had to go to the hospital, they were moving from one house to another, so we got together as family, could physically help them move as well during this time. But um it's how should I put this, you really need to, you really are surprised how when people are really at their most vulnerable, that people really come through,
Mm.
and we're our own worst many enemies, thinking that, oh, they're never going to understand. But I think people do, that really love you and are mature enough to do it. I think as you get older, you have the people in your life that are mature enough to do it for you, to help you out. That's the one
100.
good thing about getting older.
I appreciate that. Well, in closing, because I have to go and get my daughter from school,
Oh,
but in closing, was there any final, just parting words, just in general conversation about maintaining your mental health that you wanted to offer anybody watching or who's going to watch this in the replay crew, so that even when like just any little nugget from the overall conversation that you can offer as just a mainstay for them to part with.
sure, I'll go first. If that's okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, thank you. Um, my departing wisdom of or thing is, get yourself a routine and stick to the routine. And your friends are your friends, but if you feel that dark thoughts,
Go, lady.
go get a therapist, or go get some professional help. And if that one therapist is not jiving, then find another one. And use that routine as much as you can, because if you don't have anybody to support you at that time, that routine will help you out.
Mm, okay.
That There's a lot more, but that's only one of them. Yeah.
How about you, Nikaya?
My thing is acknowledging it.
Hmm.
Um, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging it. You're not weak if you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
and not hold it in. You have to find at least that one person.
Yeah.
100%.
You have to find at least one person that's gonna listen.
Yeah.
100%.
And you, Jordan?
I think mine would be create a safe space for yourself to feel your emotions uninhibitedly.
Got it.
Mm, mm,
Um, I think for me, my safe space is getting in my car, turning up R&B music and singing as
Mm,
loud as I can and crying as hard as I have to.
yeah.
And you give yourself that space and give yourself enough time to feel like you are able to talk yourself through it, make yourself feel better, dissociate as much as you need to, or just take a break to calm yourself down enough to step back into it and deal with it. But you have to have some sort of safe space or some sort of coping mechanism to detach from the issue at hand and be able to go into it and like bring yourself back from the brink. If
mm,
if that makes sense. Even if it's not like a
Yeah.
physical place, even if you just have some sort of little thing you do, whether it be affirmations, listening to music, listening to white noise, working out, like just some sort of space where you can just release and just let go and feel 100% of yourself.
That makes sense.
amen.
Thank you so much for having this today, Jordan. It helped a lot to
Yes.
me. It helped a lot in the last couple weeks. There's been a lot of up and downs with my family. So thank you for letting me share myself with you guys.
No, thank you so much for joining. That's what this
Yeah.
channel is for. I want to create a space where we all can come in and just kind of learn from each other from our own personal experiences and just kind of take what each other's going through and learn about ourselves in the process. And I appreciate you guys for wanting to share your stories because I know that it takes a lot of, you know, charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent to get your ass up here and talk about the deepest parts of yourselves. So I'm just grateful to have you. Um,
Okay, you got to
I, yeah.
pick up your little one, don't you?
Yeah, so I'm about to head out, but
Oh,
thank you guys so much for being here. Um, and yeah, take all the
oh,
words that we instilled in you guys, and hopefully we gave you guys something to part with that you can carry on with in the rest of your day and feel like you have been heard, have been validated, have been comforted, and maybe you've learned something that can kind of take you into a safer space with yourself or give you a tool or give you some encouragement to go out and find that for yourself. So with that, I am Audi 5000. I love you guys. Thank you, Nikaya. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, all of the mods, Rosemary, all of you guys for stopping by. All of you people who commented, tuned in, liked the video, all of the things of the things. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all of the YouTubey things that you do on all of your favorites channels, and we'll holler at you guys in the next one. See you guys later.
bye.
See
Bye, baby.
ya.
Bye.
Bye, baby gorgeous.
Bye, baby gorgeous.
Mwah.